Welcome back to the channel, good friends. This looks horrible. I'm not a paint guy or a body guy in any way, but I know I can make this look a little bit better. A little bit of Bondo in here. I don't know if they were after a dent or a little bit of rust, but they didn't sand it properly. They used a bomb can of satin or matte black. So we're going to sand this down. We'll put a filler primer in there. We do have the Onyx Black color coat, and then we'll clear it, blend it in some of these areas, somewhere in here where it's hard to see, and just make it look a little bit more presentable. So let's get started. I have all of the emblems off back here. This one would have been in the way. Again, they just didn't finish sanding, and then they used a bomb can of satin or matte. We're going to try and make it look just a little bit better. We'll start off with 600 grit. That'll help level things off here down into this area right there. A little bit probably of being lazy, in a hurry, or both. Going to be a little bit of overspray, so I have every car out of here that can be out of here. Everything covered that needs to be covered. And we're going to make this look just a little bit better. Blow the dust off of there, and no matter how it looks, your hands are always going to be able to tell you where you're at here, because if you can feel it, you're going to see it when you respray it. I believe that's going to be okay. Next step is going to be a filler primer. Everything I'm doing today is going to be from my Spider spray gun, except for the primer. That's in a can. So let me get a layer of that, nice thick layer, and we'll move on. We'll use a wax grease remover panel prep on a low or no lint towel and clean up here before we spray. See what we pulled off of there? Okay. Here we have it with the primer layer, and now you can see that those sand marks are gone. Just a little bit of texture from the primer itself. We'll let that dry, and we'll sand that down. This is a primer that's made to bond with a base coat, and it's made for fiberglass, metal, and painted surfaces. And also, if the shop is around 75 degrees or so, which it's above that, we'd like it nice and toasty. 15 to 30 minutes to the touch, you could sand it and move on. And now we'll sand the primer smooth. Turn the paper over often so it doesn't get clumpy in here. Well, you can see what it does on the paper. Sand it all the way up through. All right, that'll do. All right, another fresh, low lint with a prep. Clean the area again, getting ready for the next step. All right, for the next step, using the Black Widow, I have the Onyx Black mixed up with the reducer. 2 wet coats. First coat in the books. That was at 10 psi. Second coat, 10 minutes apart. Another wet coat. It'll be laid out a little bit wider than the last layer we put down. Let that cure or dry for 10 minutes. We move on to the next step. All right, now we have the clear mixed up, 8 parts to 2 parts, 1 part, clear coat, reducer, hardener, 10 pounds, 2 wet layers, and now we're going to come all the way up to here, and we're going to come out a little bit further and have that blend mark right there. All I have to do is a little bit of wet sanding here, and then a little bit of wet sanding to smooth, because I'm not a professional, I'm not a body shop painter, so I'm going to have to get it smooth, wet sand it, and polish it. First coat, we'll let that dry, come back for a second coat. All right, quick tip, between layers of clear, you want it to be tacky to the glove but not stringy. I'm pulling the glove away and there's string of clear coat following it. You want to wait a little bit further, a little bit longer. You want it to be tacky but not stringy. Easiest way to tell you if it's time enough in between layers of clear. I'm going to put one more layer of clear on here, then let that dry to the next day, do some wet sanding for some small issues, because this isn't a body shop setting, and we also have to do some wet sanding and polishing where we blend it in. We're going to go all the way up to there, so there's no blending in there. The blending is going to be right at this small area at the emblem. Okay, we're at that point where it's tacky, but we're not pulling strings of clear away. Time for the second coat. Right there is where I wanted to stop. That's perfect right there. The texture matches that side. And again, we're going to be wet sanding some of the imperfections and the contamination. And that's it. We're good to go. We just need to wait for it to dry for 24 hours, maybe even longer, until I get back to it and do some sanding and polishing. So, a little bit of contamination. Most of the texture is going to be down there. That's going to be wet sanded, and well, the whole thing is, but a whole lot better than it was. Okay guys, that's going to be it for this video. Shop manager's ready for a nap and ready for the fumes of paint and clear coat to stop floating through the air. So we'll catch you guys in the next video.